So what did I learn from, right? The solar eclipse in Scorpio, the lunar eclipse. I learned that it almost pushed me to see myself as a 100-year-old woman. I actually had this vision of me as 100 years old. Very old soul, just very like, you cannot follow fear. Like, never let fear guide you. And I think I felt that so excruciatingly, strongly, that my soul was just like, oh my God, I felt so pushed to not being in a fearful state that I realized that, it's so interesting, like when you see and feel things on such an energetic level, especially with like Pluto there, with my Pluto. And I was like, this is really interesting. And what it did to me was basically like go over all the details, refine them, and be like, okay, I'm biracial, but I'm not like I'm biracial, you know what I mean? But I've always been like, I'm biracial. But it did make me see how like running is very important. Like the legs, cardiovascular health is so important to this like for me and my generation, and being like okay with that, and being like there's no problem with like, getting up in the morning, running, having a healthier diet. So that's what happened. I had to I had no other choice. And I realized what had happened was I started feeling like this fleeting feeling of like everything should be a little bit like I forgot about it. If you're overthinking things too much, you're not at a good place with life. You should let the universe kind of give you little gifts. Like, I think it's important to like weigh in, like, I just need to plug my body up with high vibrational content, like high vibrational. I didn't do my angel meditation. I didn't do my let go meditation. I didn't do, my Hippopono meditations, but I'll do those. But it was just nice to like charge the day up. Today I was like really tired because I just did a 2-mile. It was a fast. I walked pretty fast, and it was kind of nice to have my body put on like a place where I could walk faster. I always feel like in Baltimore I have to walk a bit slower because we don't want to speed up the mind, and that just shows you like how we do these subconscious things to be in the now of like, there is a kind of pace in Baltimore, and it's like you kind of let your body go and then you let the universe take over. I think some people have taken the wrong side of that and going into drugs and addictions and doing bad stuff spiritually. And some people have gotten in the present and realized my experiences don't define me, but yes, they set boundaries. For example, I realized, like I did in the Quiet in the Mind video, men are obsessive. This is not new. This is a fact. Men are obsessive and some are repulsive. I'm going to be honest. I've had some men be really kind to me, and they've defined themselves through religion, but they change. I've had some men be really cool to me because of their status in the world. That's nice, but it's temporary. So I realized for me, it's like really important to be objective and be like, the only thing that really should connect me with that gender is the desire to work. It's true, because other than that, I see them as friends at times, but the lunar eclipse has taught me that there's something with our auras. The more we surround ourselves in stagnant energy, and I can get what I want just from sitting on my sofa. I can press a button, get anything I want. You're telling the universe that, it's fine. You can do that. But it's like at a certain point, you're going to be like, well, if you're not getting a response, if people aren't reacting, if things aren't being brought back to you that you want in a conditioned, normal way of society, then maybe you should change your patterns and your habits and your routines to establish a new relationship with the universe. So the lunar eclipse was actually very interesting because it was, ironically, I think, somewhat squaring Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde. But you have to work with Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde because that's where you tap into your power. And so when I was feeling, oh my God, how do I connect with the Aquarius energy? I felt like the Aquarius energy was the now. And that's what made it all confusing, was because Scorpio was reaping up all the past experiences. And Aquarius was like, but you redefine yourself now. And that's why I was like, oh my God, like Aquarius is so interesting because it makes you go higher, but it makes you appreciate the height. But you have to sustain the height. Like I couldn't be like, I'm high, because I eat healthy, right? I have to be like, I'm high because I eat healthy and I go running. It can't just be one thing. Like it's good to do these. It's good to do one thing that's good in your day and feel defined by that. But I'm at a much more complex stage of my life where I need multiple streams of good feelings. Like I can't just be like, I use a shirt that's made from hemp, right? It has to be like, I had a shirt that's made from hemp that was bought at a local shop made by my friend that I shared a vegan meal with and we went on a run with. You see, like it can't just be one thing. It has to be a multitude, a stream of things. So it's like, I went on a run. I had a good vegan meal today, like cooked from home, vegan food, no processed oils. Sure, I'm a little bit eating more just because I have to repair some of the cells that were cleaned out during the lunar eclipse and fill them up with new replenishing ideas, such as running, such as moving in public, because I think there's something to be said after Corona. A lot of the American population felt that they could define themselves through isolation. Like, I am a lonely person because I choose to put myself in a lonely situation, right? But the problem with that is that there is connotations with isolation, whether you like it or not. There's jail is isolation. Hospitals are isolating. I'm not saying those people should be forgotten. I'm almost saying, like, there's connotations with isolating yourself for sure. And those things can creep up in a time like now when Pluto and Aquarius was squaring the lunar eclipse and asking you to put new ideas forward to motivate you, right? And that's the whole thing, is that as we become a more abundant society, I'm working towards connecting with more abundant people who do not take advantage of my soul. But as we come in, you have to realize there is energy vampires. There are people who hang on you. I was doing Reiki at one point, and then I felt like I was doing the Reiki on myself, and I was healing. And I feel like in the summer, in the city I live in, and maybe in your city too, in other cities, there's a feeling of a lack of value on women. All of a sudden, women are these disposable items that men can just place on a pedestal and throw off, which is really problematic, because it's like, at this point in the summer, it's like, I really need to know that people know that it's not always easy in the summer for women because of the over-sexualization, the harassment, the putting on a pedestal and dropping, and how that can affect a woman's mental health. And that can create anxiety and fear. But I think ultimately, by redefining yourself with new programming, you can feel better. Like, I think it's all about the programming here. Because of Scorpio lunar eclipse, okay, it wiped our cells out clean, but what are you programming it with? You know what I mean? I'm programming my cells with health, divinity, and love. Right? Devotion, protection, creativity, and sharing that vibration with others, like letting other people see you glow up, not just doing it for the gram or for your Twitter or for your feed, your Facebook feed, or doing a private photo shoot for, a modeling company. It's good to get out and just be like, yeah, I'm also a very normal person who needs very normal amounts of understanding that transformation is definitely possible. I think it's really important to reprogram yourself and be like, there will be times when you'll have to clear your energy, come back in, create a namaste vibration. And there'll be times where it will just be hectic. That's the nature of life. But if you create a nice routine, such as going out and running every morning, getting your vitamins in, getting your energy bars, wearing, ideally I would like to get to a place where I am wearing clothes that are vegan, but vegan clothes are very expensive, but at least a kind of, a company that isn't terrible. you know? And just being like, well, I always try to get cheaper shoes. I think more expensive shoes really boggle my mind. I know there's vegan leather. I always try to go for vegan leather. I don't do real leathers. All my leathers are faux. I try to recycle every time I can. I always recycle. I do biohacking, so I have like red light therapy. And I do weekly journals. Sometimes I'll do weekly journals. If I had a rough week, I'll definitely do a weekly journal it out and be like, this was difficult and this was difficult. I was definitely feeling that the week before the eclipse. And I was on my moon cycle, so I was menstruating, and then the lunar eclipse happened, and I was like, wow, this really is just all at once with everything. I mean, the lighting in my house was different. There was only one place where I was really feeling the light, and then I realized it's okay to have electric light. It's okay to, have unnatural lights in the daytime. I think I just woke up to the new age a little bit more in terms of like the aspects of like not everything has to be super natural and super like homemade is what I'm saying. Like there are times in your life where you just have to be like, I like the lighting in the daytime when there's unnatural light, and I think it's because it gives me the feeling of like independence from nature. And I think at times nature is just very strong and those vibrations are strong. For example, the lunar eclipse, that's not man-made. Nobody made the moon do that. That was nature. Yeah. So I think it's important to realize, there's just aspects that were clearing up, and it was just, the lunar eclipse was somewhat colloquial. It was just weird because my journal of it was, the lunar eclipse was so outdated. Like the feeling of it was just, it made me feel outdated. Like it was ironic that it was squaring such a positive progressive sign like Aquarius, but it was even more ironic that Pluto decided to go backwards at that specific time. And I just remember feeling like, wow, this is really interesting to feel so outdated, yet we're in 2023, which made me feel it was even more ironic that I lost my computer just a month ago or 2 months ago. That, I was also scammed in a book deal, right? And just all those things that had happened and created a kind of a cycle of like, these things are still happening. People are still robbing people. Computers are still breaking. And the moon is still eclipsing, And it just creates a thing like, these things are going to happen whether I like it or not. Who knows if somebody will try to like rob money from me virtually in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if I received a sketchy email. I'm not trying to be annoying, but hopefully that wouldn't happen again. But I'm not surprised, No, but it's true. Like human trafficking is happening, but there are micro things that lead up to the human trafficking. It starts with a sketchy email from a person that's trying to get you to take photos or trying to get you to endorse something. I just wouldn't open it. I just wouldn't accept it. I think for me, like, I just don't have luck there with those weird emails. I think it's more important about being like, well, now when I use my computer, it's more purposeful. Sure, I have, some upcoming anxieties about, where it's all headed with technology, but I think in rationalization, I can have my own boundaries with it. I think it's also really important to realize that right now, from May to July, there will be things started, opened, and created from certain people. So it's important to really like bond with people who are really in your frequency. If you're bonding with someone who is mentally incapable of tolerating how far you've glowed up, that can create severe disease within. I think too much going inward is bad right now, because I think if you go too much inward, you just might feel too isolated. I think, for example, my brain, I've just experienced so much in the past, 3 years with Corona. So now I'm feeling like it's really like important to have a boundary and be like, here I am, But here I am doing something and letting you watch me glow up. I think it's impossible to track. I think back in the day, maybe like 10 years ago, maybe like 8 years ago, you could be like, oh, like, we were just kids. We were just having fun. Like, you knew what shows your friends were going to. You knew how to do different things. Now, it's a bit more complicated, It's you can't interact with people on the interface like they owe you something. You have to have like complete understanding that people really exist for themselves and that entity until you're invited. I think back in the day when I was younger, you really had, things. Now you go to a show, you have your phone. It's more, it's more individuation, Right. And it's more just, taking it with a grain of salt. Don't be swept away by the tides. They're strong. I think one thing I'm learning about my personality, my Regulus, is that